A wonderful day to all. My profound gratitude to AQRA for giving us this great opportunity to participate in this prestigious and very organized virtual research conference. Can, and we are glad to share with you our research work conducted recently. The title, Sociolinguistic Competence of Filipino Hotelier and Restaurateur Interns. I am Dr. Ronald M. Supungan from Batangas State University. My fellow investigator,
Dr. Rommel Emazaran from the College of Industrial Technology, Batangas State University. We are proud to be the valuable parts of Batangas State University, the leading institution of higher education in Region 4A, aiming to be the national university in the country. Batangas State University is the best performing university in the country in terms of engineering in its allied programs.
being proud Red Spartans, Dr. Rommel Aceron and I are active faculty researchers of Batangas State University, JPLPC Malvar. It is considered one of the 11 satellite campuses of Batangas State University. We are proud to have all programs accredited by AACUP and, and highly recognized by CHED Region 4 for its quality facilities, a strong team of educators and administrators, and competent graduates.
Introduction of the study. Communication is the heart of any organization. Lack of communication competence cannot help improve the company. Employees who speak with respect, listen, handle conflict, and are heard in meetings are greatly appreciated by the employers. Therefore, communication can make things easier, especially to the workers or on-the-job trainees who are working in hospitality industry because they are expected to deal with the different kinds of people or hotel guests.
Concern over the pressing problem on communication skill is evident among the Filipino hotel and restaurant management students and graduates, as revealed in empirical observations and several studies like those in 2016 and around 2015. The condition posed challenges to both teachers and students, as it was commonly observed by the language teachers and the researchers ourselves. The aim of the study is to explore on the social-linguistic competence of the on-the-job trainees in terms of register and dialect, cultural references, and metaphorical language. This study would primarily benefit the students.
Objectives of study: to describe and analyze the social-linguistic competence on the job trainees in terms of register, dialect, cultural references, and metaphorical language. To design an interpersonal communication program for hoteliers and restaurateurs based on the findings. The assumption of the study. The study assumed that hotelier and restaurateur interns have a good facility and command of the language and have social-linguistic competence.
As to our theoretical framework, the present study was anchored on communicative competence theory written and designed by Canale and Swain in 1980. Canale and Swain described 4 competencies in this theory: the grammatical competence, discourse competence, strategic competence, and the social linguistic competence. We limited our investigation to only one competence, that is the social linguistic competence. It was considered a pie on the whole pizza. We took only one pie at a time. We're afraid we might be choked if we got all 4. Kidding aside, the theory was just right and fitting for the study.
Methodology of the study. So this study has been involved with the 25 OJT hoteliers and restaurateur interns. So with this setting of the study, it is in the province of Batangas, Region 4A, Luzon, Philippines, with the hotels and restaurants. So the instrument of the study. So we, the researchers, believe that we are the primary instrument of the study. So with the interview guide, which was formulated and validated by the experts. So the data collection and analysis. So upon having this schedule with the interviews and collection of data, so there were 40 to 60 minutes for the said interviews, which have been after that followed by the transcription, analysis, and interpretation, as well as the coding of the data, which with the use of our rubrics prepared. Rigor and trustworthiness of the study. To ensure the rigor and trustworthiness, the researchers employed strategic suggestions or suggested by Lincoln and Gulba, 1985, which includes credibility, transferability, dependability, and informability of the data retrieved from the investigation.
Sociolinguistic is concerned with the appropriateness of communication depending on the context, including the participants and the rules for interactions. The rubrics are used to assess all these variables, which includes the following criteria: the register, the dialects, cultural reference, and metaphorical language. And for the criteria, we have the 1, beginning; 2, developing; 3, advising; and 4, mastering. As to our respondents' demographics, we considered the 25 on-the-job trainees from hotels and restaurants. We consider all these variables: the work experience, the assigned work, and the type of establishment. In work experience, we got to know that some of them were waiters and waitresses, frontliners or the desk officers, the housekeepers, and involved in food and beverage as attendants. And for assigned work, there are some of them at the back of the house and front of the house. And for the establishment, there are only 2 types of establishments. These were the hotel establishment and the restaurant establishment. For the results, as to register, from the transcribed interview, sample were extracted and assessed to determine the competence of the participants in terms of register, which is about the speaking and writing, which is including the vocabulary and syntax and even the pronunciation. The researchers' assessments were validated by the experts. So as revealed by the percentage of the agreement, and you can find this at the end of the last column, the assessment reveals that only few were found to have the mastery as indicated to their ability to construct English language well, with minor grammatical errors. Most of the respondents could hardly build a good structure of words because they are having a hard time thinking on how they would answer the questions. In the same manner, from the transcribed interview, samples were also extracted to assess the cultural reference competence of the respondents. So to determine the competence participant in terms of cultural reference, our assessments were validated also by the experts. As revealed by the percentage, most respondents were found to be in the developing in terms of cultural reference. It indicates that the respondents can communicate in their vernacular language as Tagalog, but there was a problem in their use of words and the way they processed their answers despite the use of the vernacular language. The results may be attributed that respondents often use Tagalog in their conversation and during class hours. The difficulty of using the spoken English may be credited to the fact that respondents had the inadequacy of vocabulary as revealed by the results of interviews and actual observation of the researchers, interviewers. In the same manner, we as researchers determine the competence of the metaphorical language from the sample extracts from the transcribed interviews. So as to this variable, we have discovered that most participants were found to be in the beginning in terms of metaphorical language, as evident in poor English-speaking practices. The respondents could hardly express their ideas in English, as indicated to poor level of English use and structure, as well as too much dependent on Filipino as their vernacular language. The results imply that the respondents had an inadequate knowledge of the metaphorical language and their meanings. These results may suggest that most of the non-education graduates who taught major courses were often observed to using Filipino as a medium of instruction in the classroom. This may also be attributed to the culture of communication adopted in the department. Our investigation considered the work identity construction. This includes respondents, symbol, words associated with symbols, and the corresponding theme. As we researchers use the percentage agreement with experts, we have found that the hotelier, restaurateur interns were at the beginning level in sociolinguistic competence in terms of metaphorical language. This is manifested in their answers to the question, if there is one thing you can compare your work with, what is it? Most of them could hardly construct their words well and having trouble in processing them. Majority of the respondents answered the questions using their Filipino vernacular language, but mistakes were still evident, especially when the respondents were switching codes from English to Filipino. Though it is acceptable to switch codes, but words have to be connected to each other and the meaning is understood. The hotelier and restaurateur interns could use metaphorical language as they were able to compare their work to inanimate objects. However, mistakes on the structures were evident and grammatical flaws manifested as they processed the language during the interviews.
The conclusion of the study: the social linguistic competence of hotelier and restaurateur interns were found to be in the beginning level relative to the register and dialect, cultural reference, and metaphorical language as manifested in their interaction and negotiation of their ideas found in the recordings. Thus, the assumption of that hotelier and restaurateur interns have a good facility and command of the language relative to sociolinguistic competence was not met. Recommendation of the study: implementation and dissemination of the proposed interpersonal communication program for hoteliers and restaurateurs students to improve the sociolinguistic competence and skills was highly recommended.
This ends our presentation. This has been Dr. Ronald M. Sapungan and my fellow investigator,
Dr. Rommel Mazron,
saying thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and God bless us all.
God bless.